In this tutorial, I will share with you an easy, affordable, and delicious recipe that you can enjoy at any time. This is a recipe that requires just a few ingredients but results in a visually stunning, appetizing, and healthy dessert. It's a delightful combination made with homemade jam prepared from fresh or frozen fruit pulp. Looking for the perfect Mother's Day gift? This recipe will be a great help. Zefir is a traditional delicacy from Russia and other Eastern European countries, a soft and fluffy marshmallow. Preparing this exquisite dessert is a quick and easy task that does not require an oven and does not need refrigeration. With just 15 minutes of preparation, you can surprise mom, your guests, or your family with a gift made with love and dedication. Additionally, these marshmallows can be stored for 5 to 7 days in airtight containers, making them a practical option to enjoy at any time. With their soft texture and elegant presentation, these marshmallows are more than just a dessert. They are a true culinary masterpiece, perfect for celebrating someone special on their day. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and leave me a comment telling me where you are watching from. Also, share this beautiful tutorial with your friends to help my channel continue to grow. The first step before starting the recipe is to prepare everything I will need. I will need parchment paper to place the centers of the flowers. I will use chocolate cookies to later fill them with berry marshmallow. I prepare the piping bags with the nozzles I will use. I prepare a saucepan with hot water for the piping bags with the marshmallow. This way, I can keep them soft a little longer before they harden. The next step is to weigh all the ingredients. 160 g, 5.6 ounces or 2/3 cup, of cold water. 11 g, 0.39 ounces or about 2 1/4 teaspoons, of Agar Agar with a minimum strength of 900. It cannot be substituted with gelatin. Stir a little and let it hydrate for a few seconds. Now I add 200 g, 7 ounces or 3/4 cup, of berry jam, which I made by boiling 200 g, 7 ounces or 1½ cups, of berries. Blueberries, strawberries, raspberries, and currants, with a tablespoon of water and a tablespoon of sugar. Once the jam was ready, I strained it through a fine sieve and let it cool. I combine the berry jam with the Agar Agar mix to integrate, and set it aside for now. To continue weighing all the ingredients, I weigh 270 g, 9.5 ounces or 1 1/4 cups, of sugar, which I will later add to the mixture with the berries. In the mixer bowl, I weigh 80 g, 2.8 ounces or about 1/3 cup, of egg whites, which is the equivalent of 2 large egg whites, but in this recipe, I recommend weighing the ingredients to achieve perfect marshmallows. Separately, in a cup, I weigh 80 g, 2.8 ounces or about 1/3 cup, of sugar, which I will add to the egg whites as they whip. Once everything is weighed and prepared, you can boil the Agar Agar with the jam over high heat. Stir constantly with a whisk or a flat spatula to ensure you scrape the bottom of the saucepan, to prevent the Agar Agar from settling and burning. In the double boiler saucepan, once the water has boiled, turn off the heat and leave it as it is. In the saucepan with the Agar Agar, once it starts to boil, add the 250 g, 8.8 ounces or 1 1/4 cups, of sugar, all at once, and reduce the heat to low. Add half a teaspoon of lemon-flavored fruit salt. At this moment, set a timer and turn on the mixer with the egg whites, beating for 1 or 2 minutes at medium speed. until you get a foam similar to beer froth. Add the sugar in 3 or 4 additions and increase the mixer's speed. At this step, we must do both tasks at the same time. Beat the egg whites until you get a firm French meringue, while stirring the syrup until you obtain a thick but fluid paste. This recipe can be perfectly made with a hand mixer. I advise using a single batch and not doubling the quantities, as it will be difficult to handle with a manual mixer. During the Soviet Union, many desserts were considered luxuries, and Zefir was one of them. Due to shortages of sugar and high-quality ingredients, getting authentic, fluffy Zefir was not always easy. Those who managed to buy it often reserved it for special occasions, like birthdays, family gatherings, or important celebrations. Even today, for many people across Russia and Eastern Europe, eating Zefir brings a sense of nostalgia, reminding them of childhood treats from their grandmother's kitchen or old confectionery shops that made Zefir by hand. I boiled the syrup for almost 8 minutes until it turned into a thick paste and reached 100 degrees Celsius (212 degrees Fahrenheit). I turn off the heat, and just like that, while still boiling, I gradually add the syrup in a thin stream to the egg whites, beating at high speed. I reset the timer so you can track how long to beat the Zefir before turning off the mixer. You can also guide yourself by observing how the Zefir's texture changes, increases in volume, and gradually stiffens, wrapping more around the mixer's beater. It must not cool below 55 degrees Celsius (131 degrees Fahrenheit) or 50 degrees Celsius (122 degrees Fahrenheit), as at lower temperatures, it hardens immediately. From now on, we must move very quickly. It should have a perfect and shiny texture. Gather all the Zefir in the center, as the edges cool faster and harden. For this reason, it is important to have everything prepared. Fill the piping bags and leave space between the Zefir and the nozzle to prevent clogging and hardening. Place them in the double boiler with the heat off, as we only use it to keep the Zefir warm while forming the flowers. For For the leaves, I use neon green gel food coloring. I place the Zefir intended for the leaves in a piping bag with a leaf tip nozzle. First, I prepare the flower centers this way, placing each one on a piece of paper and letting them harden for a few minutes. Then, I prepare some sandwiches with chocolate cookies and fill them using a Wilton 1M tip. Then, with the petal tip, I continue forming beautiful roses. Zefir is often given as a gift, especially on holidays like Mother's Day, Valentine's Day, and birthdays. Since they look so elegant and artistic, they are often packaged in beautifully decorated boxes, making them a thoughtful and sweet present. So, whether you're making them at home or buying them from a bakery, Zefir is truly a unique and delicious dessert that deserves more recognition. If you've never tried it before, you're missing out on one of Eastern Europe's best-kept sweet secrets. Enjoy this tutorial, learn with me, and share it on your social networks. It's free, and it doesn't cost you anything. By doing so, you help me and allow more people to find and learn this fantastic recipe. Once the roses are formed, I take the green Zefir and add 1 or 2 leaves to each rose. We store them as they are on the paper and let them stabilize at room temperature for 10 to 12 hours. Afterward, they will be ready to store in airtight containers for 5 to 7 days in the pantry. Have you ever heard of Zefir? This delicate, fluffy, and beautifully crafted treat might look like a fancy French dessert, but it actually comes from Eastern Europe. Zefir is a traditional confection that originated in Russia and Ukraine, inspired by the classic French meringue but with a unique twist. Unlike typical marshmallows, Zefir has a softer, airy texture, a melt-in-your-mouth consistency, and a delicate fruity flavor. The word Zefir actually comes from the Greek god Zephyrus, the god of the gentle west wind, symbolizing the dessert's light and airy texture. It was first created in the early 20th century, when confectioners in Russia wanted to develop a treat that was both soft and flavorful, yet more natural than store-bought marshmallows. One of the main ingredients that makes Zefir unique is Agar Agar, a natural gelling agent extracted from seaweed. Unlike gelatin, which is made from animal collagen, Agar Agar is 100% plant-based, making Zefir a favorite among vegetarians. This key ingredient gives it a firmer yet bouncy structure while keeping it light and fluffy. If you've ever seen beautifully shaped Zefir, you might think they belong in a high-end bakery, but they are actually a common and affordable treat in Eastern Europe. In countries like Russia, Ukraine, and Belarus, you can find them in almost any grocery store or bakery. The price of a box of Zefir varies depending on the quality and ingredients used, but a standard pack usually costs between $3 to $7 in local supermarkets. However, artisanal or handmade Zefir, especially those with high-quality fruit purees and natural flavors, can be priced much higher, sometimes reaching $15 to $25 per box, especially in gourmet shops or when imported to other countries. What makes Zefir even more special is the way it is presented. Unlike regular marshmallows, which are just cut into cubes, Zefir is traditionally piped into delicate swirls, often resembling roses or seashells. Many confectioners take this even further by dipping them in chocolate, dusting them with powdered sugar, or decorating them with edible gold flakes for an extra luxurious touch. One of the best things about Zefir is that it doesn't require an oven. This no-bake dessert is perfect for those who want to make an elegant, homemade sweet treat without spending hours in the kitchen. And if you've ever had store-bought marshmallows, you'll be amazed at how much softer and fresher homemade Zefir tastes. But Zefir is not just about looks, it also has a fascinating nutritional profile. Compared to traditional marshmallows, which are mostly made of sugar and corn syrup, Zefir contains real fruit puree, giving it a natural fruity taste and a slightly healthier profile. It has fewer artificial additives, making it a preferred choice for those who want to enjoy sweets with fewer preservatives. Now, you might be wondering, how is Zefir eaten? Well, in Eastern Europe, people love pairing it with a hot cup of tea. The soft, airy texture of the Zefir contrasts beautifully with the warmth of the tea, making for a cozy and comforting experience. Some even use Zefir as a cake filling or dip it in melted chocolate for a richer taste. Unlike many other delicate pastries, Zefir has an impressive shelf life. Thanks to the natural preserving qualities of Agar Agar and sugar, a well-made Zefir can stay fresh for several weeks without refrigeration, making it a popular treat for travel and gifting. In fact, during the Soviet era, Zefir was often chosen as a preferred dessert to send in care packages across vast distances. However, Zefir is sensitive to humidity. If exposed to moisture, it can become sticky and lose its signature fluffiness. That's why high-quality Zefir is often packaged with a light dusting of powdered sugar or cornstarch, preventing the pieces from sticking together. At first glance, Zefir might seem like a fancy version of a marshmallow, but there are some major differences. Ingredients: marshmallows rely on gelatin, while Zefir uses Agar Agar, making it a vegetarian-friendly alternative. Texture: Zefir is much softer and more delicate than the chewy, rubbery texture of marshmallows. Flavor: while marshmallows taste mostly of sugar and vanilla, Zefir has a fruity tartness from the real fruit puree. Production method: marshmallows are cooked and whipped, whereas Zefir is whipped raw and then air-dried for hours. Because of these differences, Zefir melts in your mouth rather than requiring any chewing, making it feel far more luxurious and refined. While the classic Russian Zefir is the most well-known, other countries have their own versions of similar confections. In Ukraine, you'll often find Zefir dipped in chocolate, adding a crispy outer shell that contrasts with the soft, fluffy interior. In Belarus, Zefir is sometimes flavored with honey and spices, giving it a more complex taste. In Poland, a similar treat known as tasty mleko, bird's milk, is popular, though it has a more custard-like texture. In France, while they don't have Zefir, they do have a distant relative, gourmet, a soft, pillowy confection often made with fruit puree. So, next time you see a box of Zefir in an Eastern European store, don't just walk past it. This dessert is more than just a sweet treat, it's a piece of history, an art form, and a symbol of elegance. Whether you enjoy it with tea, as a gift, or just as a moment of indulgence, one thing is certain: once you try Zefir, you'll never look at marshmallows the same way again. Would you try Zefir? Let us know in the comments. During the Soviet Union, food shortages were common, and many high-quality confections were either too expensive or nearly impossible to find in certain regions. Zefir, with its delicate texture and refined flavor, was considered a luxury item, often found in high-end stores or reserved for the elite. This led to an interesting underground trade, smuggling Zefir across Soviet borders. In cities close to the borders of Finland, Poland, and the Baltic states, Soviet citizens often crossed into neighboring countries to bring back goods that were scarce at home. While people usually think of vodka or caviar as classic Soviet-era smuggling items, Zefir was surprisingly one of them, especially the premium kinds dipped in dark chocolate. Some people would fill their suitcases with high-end confections and then resell them at black markets in Moscow or St. Petersburg, making a decent profit. The authorities often overlooked these treats, considering them harmless compared to other contraband. However, in some cases, border guards would confiscate entire suitcases full of Zefir, and Soviet customs agents were known to take a few for themselves before writing up official reports. Believe it or not, there are stories that Zefir was once considered as a potential space food. During the height of the space race, Soviet scientists were experimenting with different foods that could be sent with cosmonauts into orbit. The ideal space food needed to be lightweight, non-crumbly, to avoid floating debris in zero gravity, nutrient-rich. Zefir, being soft, airy, and easy to store, was tested as an alternative to traditional space snacks. However, while the texture was perfect, the high sugar content and the fact that it could become sticky in humid conditions led to its rejection. Instead, Soviet cosmonauts were given vacuum-sealed syringes filled with fruit purees, which ironically had a similar flavor to Zefir, just in a different form. Some retired cosmonauts have even joked in interviews that they would have preferred Zefir over the tasteless space rations they had to eat. Before industrial production took over, Zefir was a handmade delicacy, often prepared by pastry artisans who treated it like an art form. These early versions were much softer and more delicate than today's mass-produced varieties. In small confectionery shops, Zefir was piped by hand into beautiful swirls, carefully air-dried, and then dusted with powdered sugar. In the early 20th century, wealthy Russian families would even commission personalized Zefir flavors, using rare fruits like blackcurrant, quince, or even champagne-infused versions. Unfortunately, the mass production of Zefir in the Soviet Union led to many traditional recipes being lost. Factories prioritized longer shelf life over delicate texture, and many of the rare fruit flavors disappeared. However, in recent years, small artisan bakeries in Russia, Ukraine, and Belarus have been trying to revive the lost tradition of handmade Zefir, bringing back old techniques and unique flavors. While chocolates and roses are the traditional romantic gifts in many countries, in Russia and Eastern Europe, gifting Zefir has a special meaning. Because of its soft, airy nature, it is sometimes seen as a symbol of delicate and pure love. There's an old belief that if someone gifts you Zefir, it means they see you as gentle, kind, and precious. In the past, some Russian men would bring a beautifully wrapped box of white or pink Zefir instead of flowers when visiting a woman they admired. It was considered a sweet and thoughtful gesture, especially for someone who didn't want to be too extravagant but still wanted to show affection. To this day, luxury Zefir brands often market their products as gifts for romantic occasions, packaging them in elegant boxes with satin ribbons, a nod to this old tradition. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and that my tips help you create flowers as beautiful or even more stunning than mine. Let me know in the comments, it will make me so happy. Thank you very much for watching, and see you soon.